A common message and question I'm getting inside of my programs right now is, what can I do when my Facebook ads aren't working? And I get it. It's so frustrating because obviously we're spending money and we want the best bang for our buck, but just sometimes we're not getting the returns that we're after. So it's a very, very common frustration. And for most e-commerce business owners, Meta ads are one of the biggest drivers of traffic and sales in our businesses. So we really want them to work. So today I'm going to share with you some of the most common Meta ad troubleshooting questions and answers that I get in order to help you self-manage your ads. Now, this could be an episode every week for the next 52 weeks, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you the most common ones that I get, and in order to help you navigate and troubleshoot what's going on inside of your account. If you love this kind of advice and you would like my eyes on your ads, be sure to go over to jodiminto.com and learn the different programs that I have, such as my Ecom Ads Academy, which we've just wrapped up 8 weeks, and with a cohort, and we're coming back, I think it's about mid-July. Or I have my mastermind if you're doing 10K months or more and looking to scale your ads. My 7-figure scale collective mastermind is where you have me inside of your ad account. But anyway, enough about that. Let me get on with today's show and just share exactly what those troubleshooting questions and answers are for you to help improve your ads. All right, let's go. Hi, welcome to the Online Store Success Podcast. I'm your host, Jodi Minto, an e-commerce coach and meta ads specialist. Each week, I share with you practical strategies to help you grow a profitable online store that runs in school hours and supports your lifestyle. Let's get into it. So the first question, or the most common question I get asked inside of my groups, and even sometimes just random DMs from total strangers on Instagram, is, hey, my ads were working, but they've suddenly stopped. Performance has dropped, and whether it's they've stopped in that they're no longer getting any sales, any conversions, or that the price is too high for that cost per sale, or my ROAS is low. So when your ads start strong but then performance drop, it's really, really common, because what happens when we launch new ads, Meta shows it to people who are most likely to convert first. These are usually people that have shown signals to Meta that they're interested in what it is you have to what it is that you're selling, whether that's because they've engaged with you on Instagram or Facebook, they are like a warm retargeting person, or that they're in the market for that particular thing, i.e. say a dog bed, and they've been looking at other dog bed brands. So they usually go for the low-hanging fruit first, and we often do get some good signs of success early on, but then once it's scooped up that low-hanging fruit, so to speak, it's got to go wider and try and find more potential buyers. And then this is where we often see performance drop. And it's simply the algorithm testing to try and find more of the same. So when this happens, we need to, first of all, have a bit of patience. I very commonly get people come and say, I haven't had a sale in 2 days. And I'm like, okay, great. What's your budget? And they'll say $20 a day. I'm like, wow, you've spent $40. Have you? Yeah, I've spent $40. And I'll say, okay, well, how much have previous sales cost you through advertising? And they go back and have a look and they go, oh, like on average, it cost me about $60 a purchase through my Facebook ads. And okay, great. Well, we've spent $40. So what makes you think all of a sudden we've spent enough to get a sale? We haven't yet even spent $60. So we need to also keep that in mind, that have we spent enough money when we're saying, oh, that's it, things are not working? Have we spent enough money? Has one ad in any of our ad sets or campaigns even spent that $60 before giving it a fair enough chance to expect it to make a sale? So check your spend per ad and making sure that we have actually given it enough spend. Then we also need to look at a wider window. Give it at least 7 days. If you're only spending $20, give it 14 days before you can come in here and really have enough data to understand what's going on, whether it's particular ads that are getting most of the spend and therefore higher clicks, or something else is at play, like you're getting no clicks whatsoever. We need to make sure that we're giving things a chance. We also then, the next step would be to add some new creatives. If we are finding that performance is still lagging, i.e. there's not enough sales, or the sales are too expensive, or your ROAS is too low, we need to try and give it some fresh creative to see if that might scoop up some more potential buyers. And we need to just avoid turning things off too quickly. I see this so often. The next thing I get is my ROAS is really low. So I'm getting sales, but that return on ad spend is really low and not an acceptable limit. More often than not, e-com folks are aiming for a 3 or up. Obviously, the higher the better. And what a ROAS is a return on ad spend for those new to advertising, sometimes referred to as your ROI, your return on investment. But within Meta, it's called ROAS. It's a metric in a column that will tell us what our ROAS is, our return on investment is per dollar. So if your ROAS says 3, that means for every dollar you've spent on that particular ad, you've gotten $3 back in sales. And that is a benchmark most folks are happy with. Of course, we would love it to be double digits, but we have to be realistic, okay? So sometimes people are like, you know what, I'm getting sales, but the ROAS is really low. So what that looks like is that, okay, great, we are getting conversions, we are getting sales. This is a great sign of success. We are moving in the right direction. The problem is that our return on ad spend, our ROAS, is a reflection of how much people are spending in the shopping cart on your website. And that is outside of Meta's hands. Meta's job in the advertising is to get people to stop scrolling because you've built this beautiful creative and have someone click on it and come through to your website. But what happens on your website then is up to you, my friend, not Meta. So we can't be blaming them and saying, you know, I've got a low ROAS. What this usually looks like is that your cart size is low, and this often looks like it's low because maybe you sell cheap products, maybe you're selling $20, $30 products, and then more often than not, you would see a fairly low ROAS in this day and age where we know that advertising is more expensive. It may mean that you need to be focusing on more expensive items in your ads. So instead of sending people and promoting cheaper products, send them to either a bundle or send them to something more expensive to try and get a higher average order value from your ads in order to bump up that ROAS and make it more profitable. It could look like adding upsells, right? So, you know, when you get to someone's shopping cart and they're like, you've added something in for maybe $20, $30 and like, hey, would you also like this awesome thing for $10 as well? Order bumps to try and get people to spend more at the checkout will help with that ROAS. Aside from those things, what we're doing on the website to try and get people to spend more money there, again, coming across and looking at your offer, looking at your creative and thinking, okay, how can I make this even more irresistible and attractive? So maybe we need to add some fresh creatives. Maybe we need to rework the copy. Maybe we need to making sure that we're leading with our best sellers, our hero products at all time, and not things that might be on the sales rack, so to speak. So low ROAS is really common as well, but if you do have a low ROAS, I want you to first and foremost look at it and go, yes, my ads are making sales. This is great. If your ROAS is low, we have a problem on the website more often than not where we need people to spend more money. And that might even look like increasing your prices, right? So it's often an off Facebook problem more so than an on Facebook problem when you have a low ROAS. The third problem people face with their Meta ads is they're just not getting enough sales. So again, if you're getting any sales from your ads, that makes me really happy. That means there are signals there that this has got potential. So if you are getting any sales but just not enough, it's more often than not a case of you're not spending enough money. And I touched on this in our first example where more often than not, people are like, I'm just not getting consistent sales, or I'm not getting a high enough volume of sales. And often it's because we are spending $20 a day, $30, even $100 a day. If all of the other metrics look good, if your cost per sale looks good and that ROAS looks good and everything looks profitable, but the problem is you just need more of them, your problem is that we're not spending enough money and we need to be incrementally increasing your budget to scale that volume of sales that you're getting. Now, if you're spending $100 a day, I'm not suggesting on that same campaign or that same ad set to just double it to $200 in one day. You will probably have a real few days there that are shaky if you do that because you'll go back into learning and you sort of reset the algorithm. I recommend, say, around 20% every few days as an increase if you've got something that's working and you don't want to break it. So that's one way of scaling your spend. Another way of scaling your spend is to create another campaign or another ad set in parallel to that existing one that's doing well, and start it with a slightly higher budget and test some different ads in there. We don't necessarily want the same ads in this new campaign that you're already running in the other campaign, but by adding more campaigns in there where we're starting them at a higher budget, it will give you an opportunity to scale that way as well, rather than breaking that campaign that's doing well and building one in parallel to it. So it's a good problem to have if you are getting sales but the volume is low, because the indicators are there that it's working. We just need more money. We need to give the machine more money to get us more customers in return. Another common I'm even experiencing myself recently is that we're building new ads and they're not getting any spend. Now, often this happens if you are adding them to an existing campaign or an existing ad set and they're sitting alongside of other ads and that have already had some spend attached to them, or even creating a brand new ad. So I'm going to give you two case studies here. The first one is when you're adding a new ad to an existing campaign or ad set where there's already ads that have been running and getting money and getting clicks and hopefully sales. When we add a new ad in there, more often than not, it doesn't get a lot of spend allocated to it because Meta, the machine, already knows that those other ads are getting you sales, so it will just keep funneling the money there. So I still recommend you try and add that ad into that existing ad set or campaign that is doing well to see if you can continue amplifying that success. But if you do that and find it's not getting any money, there's a couple of workarounds. There's also a couple of reasons why that might be happening. The first reason why it might be happening, apart from the others are already proven and they're going to just keep getting the ad spend, is that Meta thinks that that new ad you've added to it is of poor quality and it may just cancel it out, and its system is like, no, we're not even going to give it a chance. So if you have an ad that it thinks is poor quality, and I've just done this in a previous example, another example I'll give you in just a minute, it just won't even send any money to it. The other reason is that Meta makes these decisions really quickly. I'm finding as to which ad is deserving of the money, and sometimes it's not picking correctly the algorithm. Sometimes it's giving the money to ads that, yes, they might be getting an occasional sale, but it's really expensive and the ROAS is dreadful. And in that case, we might be wanting to toggle off some of those ads that are costing too much to allow the new ads in that ad set or campaign a chance to get some spend. That second example, I actually had this problem where I created a new ad and launched it, and I launched it on its own in a new ad set with its own budget, and it just did not spend. And I kept going back into my account and it was kept being toggled off saying not delivering. And I was like looking at it going, I can't figure it out. And then I realized I was using, I guess, language that wasn't allowed. Not that I was using rude words or anything like that, but I was making bold claims, right? I was using customer testimonials and I was leading with that. So the first line in my ad, it was for my One Ad Wonder mini course, was a real life student, Amber, her results from her One Ad Wonders, which she'd actually had made $380,000 in sales from this one type of ad. And I was leading with that. It's like, this student made over $380,000 in this one type of ad. And it wasn't getting rejected as such. Usually when it's rejected, you'll see a big rejected and you'll get an email. No, it was just like, no, thank you. And just kept turning it off. So I was using language that it felt that Meta doesn't align with their policy and whatnot. And it was like, this maybe spells spammy or too bold a claim or making promises you can't keep or something like that. And its system was just like, nah, this ad is not getting any money. So if you've tried building a new ad and popping it even in isolation on its own somewhere and it's still not getting any spend, go through and check your copy to make sure you're not making any sort of bold claims that could potentially be flagged by the system, and rework it and make it a little bit more vanilla, which is what I did. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to tone this right down. And I pretty much removed that big bold claim and reworded my copy and then just had bullet points of like, here's some of the results that we've made rather than leading with it. It's still not getting a heap of spend, again, because I'm using these real life testimonials, which are great, but it thinks I'm being a bit spammy. So that could be one of the things. Aside from that, also check you haven't ticked any boxes anywhere, such as a cost per result goal or a ROAS goal or anything like that, where you've restricted the ad so much that if it doesn't think it can get you any results, it just won't even get going. So that happens at the ad set level. So just check you haven't ticked any boxes there that you're setting, you're like, you know what, I want to 15 ROAS goal, you've told it in the settings, and Meta's like, so funny. No, yeah, it doesn't everyone, and it just probably won't ever get going. So check that. Also check that your audience isn't teeny tiny and there's just not enough people in it to get going, or that your budget is, $2 a day. It might also not get going. So just check those things if your ads aren't spending. And the final problem people face are not getting any sales at all. So the ads are spending, we can see they're getting clicks, but no one is converting. So again, we need to look at this particular problem as there's two sides of the coin. There is Meta and its job. Its job is to show your ad to people it thinks are in market for whatever it is that you're selling, and hopefully have them click on your ad and come through to your website. And then the other side of the coin is your website, and whether or not it is built to convert, whether you're leading with hero products and proven products, and so on and so forth. So we need to look at this in both directions. We need to first look at the Meta side and go, okay, are my ads really attractive? Am I leading with my best sellers? Have I used all of the correct settings? If you're getting clicks but no sales, I'd certainly go back and check, have I built an actual sales campaign and asked for purchases as my conversion event? Because if you've built a traffic or even if you've built a sales campaign, but at the ad set level, you've clicked, I want landing page views, or I want add to carts, my friend, you're probably not going to get any sales. If you want sales, you click sales. Even if it tells you some sort of warning saying, no, you haven't had any sales in 7 days, we don't recommend you go for something further up the funnel, ignore it and click sales. Because I can tell you, you will likely never get any sales off a traffic campaign or even a website add to cart campaign. It's so annoying, but it's the truth of the matter. So first of all, check that the settings are correct, but also check what is the offer. What am I trying to sell here? What am I saying in the ad? What's the headline? What's the primary text? What visual element am I showing? And if you can clearly and confidently say, yes, this is all great, then we need to go over and have a look at your website and figure out what's going over there. Could be that we have some sort of conversion problem, right? If we know that the product is proven, people have bought it in the past, and maybe there's something going wrong with a website. If it's on a mobile, for example, maybe you've got some sort of chat bot installed that's covering the checkout or the add to cart actual button. Maybe your shipping or your returns information isn't clear and there's some sort of friction stopping people from checking out. So we need, in that case, to look at both sides of the coin. And if we know that the product has sold on its own, well, then we certainly come to the Meta side first. If that product has never sold before, we need to start on your website, get it actually converting, whether it's through email or organically first, and then come back to Meta and go, okay, we know it's worth investing dollars into promoting this product that we know sells well. So if your ads aren't getting any sales, but they're getting clicks, they're the metrics I want you to first have a look. Have we structured it correctly? Yes or no? Have we actually asked for purchases? Are we using a big enough audience? Have we given it enough money, enough spend? Have we only spent $10 on a product that's maybe $500? In that case, you need to spend more money, but we need to make sure the ad looks good. It's irresistible. It's going to stop the scroll. If all of that checks out, go on over to your website and go, okay, what's going on here? If you're selling ladies fashion or any kind of apparel, do I have a front, back and sides and a close-up photo? Do I have a size guide? Do I have a clear returns policy? Is my returns policy too restrictive and turning people away? Like if you don't offer returns on a $500 dress, I'm probably not going to buy it. So looking at those different elements, both the traffic side on the Meta side and then the conversion side over on your website. All right, I hope these tips and tricks were helpful for you, and good luck with your ads. I know ads are pretty wobbly right now. As I record this, there's so many different updates and changes all being rolled out. We've got to remember, we've got to be resilient. We've got to make sure that we're reading the numbers. We've got to make sure we're not attaching any emotion to our results as to it's a reflection on who we are as a person, as a business person, or how good our products are, right? Often we have to take a step back and just look at it through the lens of numbers first and foremost and go, okay, this number looks good, this number looks good, but then there's a drop off here. Let's address that. Don't go away and blow up your business or chuck it all in just because there's been a couple of months where ads have been wobbly. All right, guys, thank you for being here. If you love these podcasts, I would so appreciate a review. It just makes my day when something comes through. And I can't wait to share another episode with you very, very soon. Bye for now. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Online Store Success with me, Jody Minto. If you loved it, please share it with your friends on Instagram and tag me at @IamJodyMinto so I can say thank you. And if you really want to make my day, please go ahead and leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and give me a follow. If you'd like my help in starting or scaling your online store, be sure to check out my free resources and programs at jodyminto.com. Thanks again, and same time, same place next week. Bye for now.